Alright, so today I'm just going to show you how to do a simple drape mold for construction technique. And what I've done here is I've rolled out a slab, popping any air pockets I had, and then I conditioned the slab with my rib tool by taking the rib tool and kind of smoothing it out and getting rid of any canvas marks that I could see. And that does two things. Number one, it makes for a smooth surface so you don't get canvas marks. And number two, it compresses the clay so you have a little bit of a stronger piece of clay. Now, when I flip it onto the drape mold, and this is what a drape mold looks like, I'm going to flip the smooth side down so that I can smooth out the back side. And I don't want this part to get messed up, so I'm going to switch from canvas to craft foam, because the craft foam works kind of like a canvas in that the clay doesn't stick to it, but doesn't leave a texture either. So I'm going to switch, and I'm just going to take this slab and gently set it on that mold. Switch it back to where I can work on it. And I have to be really careful as I'm pushing this clay down, because if I push too fast, I can fold it and get some strange like bends. So I'm going to work my way around and just kind of slowly push the clay down to fit the mold. Kind of looks like a fried egg when you get started. And then I'm going to, again, slowly work it into fitting the form tightly. And then I need it to dry on the mold, because when I cut it, I don't want the lip or the rim to be all floppy. So I need it to become leather hard while it's on the mold. So while it's upside down, I'm going to do a couple things. Number one, I'm going to cut away at this. Now, I don't have to cut it perfectly now. You could cut it right up to the edge if you don't want there to be a lip at all. So like if you look at this drape mold here, this bowl was made using that form, and there was no lip at all. Or I could cut it so that I would have a rim on my plate. And if I'm not sure what I want to do, I always cut a rim, and then I can change it or alter it later. And the rim doesn't even have to match the shape. If I want a round bowl form and then I want the lip to be square, I can cut that however I want. So I'm not going to cut it really perfectly right now. I just want to get some of this excess clay out of here. And when I did cut on the craft foam, I was careful not to push down too hard, because it dents really easily. And if you dent the craft foam, then the next time you do go to use it, you're going to get that texture of the pin tool mark in your clay, which is defeats the whole purpose of using the craft foam, which is to keep the textures out of your clay. So when you're cutting on the craft foam, be gentle, because we don't want to leave that dent in the craft foam. Now what I'm going to do, it's not perfect, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and smooth out the canvas marks from this side, compressing that clay and making it look nice. And then I'm going to add a foot ring. So I can use this rib. There's all kinds of ribs though in the extra toolkit bin. You can get a rubber rib. You can get a rib like this that doesn't have the teeth on it if you're gouging it. But the first thing you're going to want to do is make it smooth. And then you're going to want to add your foot ring, whatever that is. So I can take some clay, I can roll a coil, and I can do a coil foot like this person did. They added a coil and then they scored or they luted it on so that they got that foot ring. You can do whatever you want. You could make leather hard pieces and attach them, score and slip and make feet like that. As long as your piece sits level, now is the time to do that. Now another thing I need to warn you about is that clay has something called plastic memory, which means if you're mean to it when it's plastic, it's going to remember what you did to it, and it's going to go back to that shape. So when I'm picking this up, if I do this to pick it up, and I'm denting this, and then I just push it back down, this clay is gonna get angry at me, it's gonna remember that I did that to him, and when I go to fire it in the kiln, as it begins to shrink, it may actually begin to curl back to the place that I put it. So you do want to be careful when you're moving this around to not damage the lip, even though you can push it back down. I just did a terrible job of demonstrating how to not damage it. But you may even want to slip a bat underneath, in between the craft foam, underneath the craft foam, so that you can lift it on that bat without damaging this if you're intending to have a lip. So now I can take this, I could roll a coil, and as I'm placing the coil on here, I want to think about the size of the coil. So here's kind of a neat trick that you can do. You don't want to flip it right now because it's soft, but I could do something like this. Let's say I was going to attach this coil to be the foot. I've got quite enough clay. And I wanted to see if it was going to sit nicely on the foot. I can take a bat and I can put the bat on it like this, and then I can see if it's going to work or not, because the bat will sit level if the plate is level. So now I can clearly see that the bat rests on this part and not the foot ring, so I'd need to make it smaller. The other thing you can test for is if you make a foot too small for function. So if I make a foot like this, it's like a high heel shoe. It's very, you know, tippy, and if it doesn't have much, if I can wobble the bat really easily, I probably want to make my foot ring larger. And then I can loop that and attach it.